Today's message is for the ones waiting by the door. We're talking about the difference between love gambling and healing urgency. If you've ever had an ex come back into your life, or maybe they never fully left, you know the love gamble. It's that choice to stay friends, to keep the door cracked open, hoping that this time the intimacy will stick. You're betting your emotional stability on the hope that they finally connected the dots. But often, they return still trapped in those same avoidant tendencies. They want the comfort of your presence without the work of the partnership. And that's when you have to make a choice. It's the trap of love gambling. Love gambling is when you settle for less than you deserve, such as friendship or inconsistent dynamics, because you're afraid that if you walk away completely, you'll miss the moment they finally change and choose you. So you tell yourself, maybe if I'm just supportive enough, they'll feel safe. Maybe if I stay close, I can guide them. Maybe if I change something about myself, they will feel more motivated to change as well. But in this dynamic, you are rarely a guide for them. You're more of a player at a slot machine that hasn't paid out in years. You're trading your peace for a maybe. And let's be real about what's happening on their end. When an avoidant person returns without having done the deep, messy work of healing, they are often oblivious to the mistakes they are making. They're still running the same scripts, still hitting the same walls, and yet they act like everything is fine. And I've been there. I remember being genuinely shocked by how many mistakes my ex was making. Things that seemed like basic human connection, communication, accountability, empathy were totally missing. And the hardest part, when I called her out, I was labeled as resentful. This was during an apology she initiated after months of ghosting. She admitted to acting disgusting, and yet even then was acting similarly to the point of eventually calling me resentful, implying that the pain that she caused should be easy to forget by me, that I should just get over it, and that she shouldn't have to fix anything about her behavior. She essentially expected me to accommodate her in her ego discomfort during an apology, expecting that her words alone should be enough, and that if I don't accept the apology, then I am resentful. Instead of choosing to earn the forgiveness by taking accountability, choosing to understand and improve based on the feedback. And this happens because when you try to bring a light to an avoidant's blind spots, they will desperately try to protect their own ego to avoid their shame wounds. To them, sitting in vulnerability too long feels like danger. They rather be the character they created to avoid facing who they actually are. It's why they're oblivious to their mistakes, which makes you feel like they're being cruel on purpose. They suppress things to the point of brainwashing it away as if it never happened, essentially gaslighting themselves, often with victim mentality or heavy distraction tactics, with the aim being new information overload to forget things they did. But with some behaviors, they genuinely don't think they did anything wrong because they justify it in their head by saying they have tolerated worse, downplaying your pain, because to them abuse was normalized at a bigger scale, which is a different type of healing work, more in the line of empathy and spirituality. So they aren't ready to see themselves fully yet and do the work. And when you realize that they are often completely oblivious to how exactly they're hurting you, the gamble stops being worth it. It isn't healthy for you to be a witness to their stagnation, and it won't feel healthy for them to have an audience while they continue to fail. So they will often try to find people who enable them and don't call them out to minimize your feelings as exaggerated. So the loop can get dangerous. And yes, it's hard to walk away. I had to grieve the fact that we never actually shared so many things. I was very tempted to stay friends with her just to at least keep the intimacy with her, since as a demisexual, that's not an easy thing for me to feel. but I felt that wasn't the right thing to do. To enable and tolerate her behavior, her lack of desire to improve, and even blame shifting despite apologies. In a spiritual sense, for the good of my own healing, her healing, and the consequences that enabling has on the collective, I couldn't make that choice in good conscience. Sometimes I wish I was a different person, and I could, but it's not who I am. I didn't just want her body, I wanted a healthy heart and soul for her, for the good of all. So it's eventually a matter of having healing urgency, not just for yourself but for all. I eventually had to choose healing urgency over the gamble. Healing urgency is the realization that your time and your soul are too valuable to be spent on a hope that has no evidence. It's the understanding that some people don't need more chances, they need consequences. We think we're being kind by staying and enabling their behavior. We think we're being loving and patient. But for many people, especially those trapped in avoidant cycles, enabling is like a poison. They don't need you to hold their hand while they ignore their issues. They need to feel the coldness of your absence to realize that their actions have a cost. Consequences are a form of love. They are the only thing that forces a person to finally look in the mirror. So we focus on self, not on hope. When you choose healing urgency, you stop focusing on their potential and start focusing on your reality. You stop being their teacher or parent. You stop analyzing their attachment style as an excuse for their behavior. You move from "I hope they change" to "healing urgency is the best love I can offer them." You have to realize that you might be in a completely different level of consciousness than they are, and that's okay, but you cannot drag someone up a mountain they aren't ready to climb. You will only lose your own footing and fall while they don't even try to hold your hand. Life can be so fragile, and when dealing with avoidance, it can even make you question if they would even care if you were gone from this world. Because the reality is, our last moment can be any moment, and we shouldn't be wasting it on a person who would be fine with your last moments together feeling empty and cold, and then after you're gone they would likely be crying due to regret. But that's the thing, it's a lack of consciousness. Ego identity is a subconscious autopilot that blinds us to reality. So the goal in this dynamic should be your quality of life. If you're currently in the love gambling phase, ask yourself, is this intimacy or is this just a familiar habit? Stop betting on a version of them that doesn't exist yet. Growth isn't something you can do for someone else. You have to save that energy spent on toxic hope and use it on your own happiness and evolution. When you recognize that you deserve a love that doesn't require you to be a full-time therapist or being a punching bag for their oblivion, you gain your superpower back, consciousness. Living in the moment, being present in the reality of how fragile life is. Not living in the programming of the ego that convinces you that waiting for people who don't even value your life is the correct choice. I can guarantee you they haven't even asked themselves the question, am I fine with this being our last moment? So stop performing to accommodate them as if you were a background character in their story, and start actually living your life as the protagonist. Keep your energy protected, not projected. And remember, just because they didn't value who you are and the love you have to give, that doesn't mean others won't. Many people need someone exactly like you. We need your collective love to help make the world a better place. We're in this together. I hope that helps. And if it did, allow me to help you further by subscribing. This has been Sun's Shadow. Much love.